Hi, Haley. Thank you so much for being here. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, Courtney. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Haley Hoover. I am owner of the Sparkling Hippie. That's my business. And I am a two-time published author with a couple books under my belt. And now I help other people write and publish their books. So I'm super happy to be here and excited to get to know your listeners and you as well.
Amazing. We're so excited to have you. I would love if you could tell us what your book's about.
Yeah, so my main book is called Brazenly Beautiful, and I wrote it in, I think, 2015, but I didn't publish it until 2020 because I couldn't figure out how the publishing industry worked. But it's all about just kind of getting started finding your purpose. So I would say it's kind of a mix of introducing simple spiritual practices and also simple creative practices. I really believe that your intuition, creativity, and spirituality all meld in the same pot and are all evoked from similar activities. So it's 8 different chapters with a different focus for each chapter on how to evoke that part of yourself and hopefully get to know yourself a lot better, which ultimately helps you live a more authentic life. So it was super fun to write. And I feel like it's a very helpful tool that I continue to subscribe to my clients and share with people. And then my second book is Hippies Still Exist, which is totally different. It's more of a fun read, kind of a memoir. And that story is every experience of my boyfriend and I traveling throughout New Zealand by van. And we got stuck there when COVID hit, the actual first big wave of COVID hit while we were over there. So that's all recorded in that book and kind of just a fun read for people.
I love that. That sounds so fun. What inspired you to write both books?
Honestly, with Brazenly Beautiful, I feel like I was at a 9 to 5 job that was fun, but it also left me like craving something else. Like there was something in my soul that wasn't being fed. And so I came home from my job and did these things. I sat in silence. I did daily affirmations. I did a ton of art and journaling. And that for me helped me find my peace with myself and kind of create that balance of living an authentic life despite what my job situation was at the time. And one day I'd been doing that for probably a year and a half. And one day I remember I came home from work and I sat down at my kitchen table and this just wrote itself. And I did not know it was going to be a book. I thought I was just writing a blog article and it just kind of wrote itself, which was, I mean, that's the best feeling you can hope for, right? Which was really cool. And it lived on my website for a long time as an ebook that I shared with people. But really the inspiration just being, how do you find that fulfillment no matter what your circumstances is? Because we can't control our external circumstances, but we can control ourselves. So that was sort of the inspiration behind it.
When you were writing, was there a person that you were thinking of that came to your mind that the book was for?
I would say yes. I'm trying to think back to them, but definitely there was definitely a woman in my life, or I guess a friend who kind of also was someone I poured into, if that makes sense. She kind of looked at me as a friend mentor, and I just saw her struggling with a lot of the same things I was struggling with, but she hadn't found that solution. And I think by lucky chance or whatever, I had found a solution that worked for me. And I do remember having her in the back of my mind as I was writing it, because I remember thinking there's so many other people out there like her. And, we were both in our young 20s. And I think you are very, anxious to live a fulfilling life, but unsure of this new job you took. And so I remember really being inspired by her struggles and my struggles and using this as an outlet to address those things.
I love that. That's so amazing that you've shared that story and it'll help so many people, and it already has, I'm sure.
Aw.
How long have you been writing?
My whole life. I remember going to career day at school when you're supposed to dress up for what you want to be when you grow up. Um, I believe it was either, I think first grade I was an artist, and by second grade I wanted to be an artist and an author. And my mom was super cute and had me a little portfolio of books that were written and illustrated by Haley Hoover, and I just felt like so cool. And I actually won a writing contest when I was in third grade. So it's always been a big calling of mine. But then I think, like a lot of people, we get told these messages as we get older that, no, you can't make a living doing that, or, it's so hard to get a book deal. And I believed that for a long time. And thankfully, I quit believing that, right?
Was there something that really made you like start the process of writing the book? I know you said you sat down and it was initially going to be a blog post, but did something really change for you?
That's a really good question. Um, I think at the point that I sat down at the kitchen table to write this book, I don't remember the specifics of that day at my work, but I had been in that job long enough that, and I don't want to, it wasn't a horrible job. I actually really enjoyed it, but it was my first job out of college. And I was like, there's something else I'm meant to do. This is cool, but this isn't it. And I had been in it probably a year and a half. So long enough to know I'd given it a really good try. I was actually very successful at it. But where I'm finding my peace and fulfillment is after 5 o'clock, when I go home and I paint and I journal, and I was learning guitar. I was starting a garden. All of these things were what were bringing value and authenticity to my life, not the career. And I think it was just a matter of coming to a conclusion within myself that, okay, well, this is what people need to know. This is what people need to hear, because my whole life had been very ambition, type A, achieve at school, get the good job. And I did all of those things, but that wasn't what truly mattered. And so I just felt this overwhelming desire to share that with other people.
I love that. When you're writing a book, do you have like a set schedule that you follow?
Yes and no. So this one poured out of me. This is a secret, sneak peek, but I have two journals that I'm actually, I've got my notes all over them, that I'm planning to release early 2023. And both of them they kind of started as one and then broke into two. And again, I kind of thought I was going to write a blog post, and then it turned into 12 pages, and then it was 40 pages. And about somewhere at that point, you start to realize this isn't going to be a blog post. This is going to be a book. And so I think I let it start, like, I'll say organically, just from my intuition coming up. And when I feel that there's enough energy there to create a book, that's when I kind of start adding in some strategy and really thinking about it, and then setting definitely, I don't know if I'd call it a set schedule, but I do like set time blocks in my weekly schedule to write. So every Thursday, I don't know why, Thursday mornings for me are just ooey gooey. All I want to do is write. And so I don't ever schedule anything between 9 a.m. and noon on Thursday mornings. That's always writing time. And then not every Monday, but I would say most Mondays, I don't schedule clients or calls. I just write on those days too. So kind of like a loose structure, right?
Yes. I love that though, that you have the time blocks, because time blocks are super helpful.
Yes. And it's less rigid than this every day from 8 to 8:30, because life happens in my experience. Like I can set that intention, but then I don't know, I stayed out late the night before, so I overslept, so I didn't get up at 8 and write. And then you feel bad, you know. So I kind of try to give myself grace and wiggle room.
That's so important. I love that you said that, to give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have specific things that you need in your writing space to help you stay focused when you're writing?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is for me the, like, I don't want to say deal breaker, but this is a deal breaker. If I have tabs open and my phone notifications on, I can just kiss writing goodbye. It's never going to happen. So I like to go full screen with the Word document I'm using. I turn my phone notifications off and set it aside, like has to be. And then I like to have a meditative music playing so that, I don't know, it like kind of calms and focuses my mind. I usually do like something without words, so it's not distracting. And then I really, a lot of times, like to set a timer. So like, okay, if I can just write for 20 minutes, and then more often than not, what happens is that timer goes off and I'm like, oh, I'm in the zone, shh, keep writing. And so it's just the point of clearing out the distractions and getting started, I think, for me anyway, that really helps bring me to actually sit down and almost get lost into this writing world, because that's really what it takes, is getting absorbed with the content that you're creating.
I love that. That's so true. What is your favorite writing snack or drink?
Definitely tea. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm definitely a morning writer. That's just when I have my most creativity. So I'm always drinking a hot Earl Grey tea. I usually don't snack in the mornings. So get my breakfast, get my tea, and I'm good to go. But I love that question.
What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
I am a nonfiction junkie. I'm a business coach, so a lot of business books. And then also the other piece of my business is intuition and authenticity, like Brazenly Beautiful. So I do read a lot of spiritual books and creative books. I've got a huge list of not so much art history, but more like art theory and how do spirituality and art mix, and books that kind of address that kind of thing. So
That's awesome. I love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Yes. Julia Cameron. I don't know if you know her. She's author of The Artist's Way, which I do recommend anyone who's looking to become a writer, because she tackles art and creativity as a whole in all of her books. She's written like, I think, a couple dozen books. And she's been a huge inspiration to me, getting over your creative blocks and mental blocks and just sitting down and writing. And then a writer that very nicely complements her, that has also been a huge inspiration to me, is Natalie Goldberg. And she has written a lot of books on writing, but she approaches writing and writing practice through the lens of Zen meditation, which is really unique and interesting. And kind of her philosophy on becoming present in the moment while you write, I think, is really helpful and really fascinating.
That sounds like it. I have an opportunity coming up where I'm going to go to an online Soto Zen retreat. So,
oh, fun. That sounds really cool.
yeah. So,
okay.
Definitely will check out her books. What did you grow up reading? Did you have like a favorite book out of all the books when you were younger?
Oh, that's a great question, because I read a lot when I was a kid. I remember one of my favorites was Little House on the Prairie. Have you read that one?
It's been a long time.
Yeah. I had like a whole, I don't even know how many books are in that series. Probably like 24 or something. And I had most of them, which is about Laura Ingalls. And she's, this is like the 1800s, I think, maybe the early 1900s, and her life on the prairie. So that was always just so captivating to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now as an adult, what are your favorite series or favorite authors that you read?
So I mentioned Julia Cameron and Natalie Goldberg. I've been reading both of them for years, but I've made it my mission. I don't have like a strong timeline, but to actually read every single one of both of their books. So I have printed out a list and I'm kind of just working my way through. So yeah, I don't know. It's not technically a series, but I'm definitely committed to these two authors. So
I love that.
yeah,
That's amazing. I've never thought about printing out a checklist and just checking them off as I go.
I told you I'm a recovering type A. So
Um, what would you tell someone who's just starting out with reading again?
it has to be something fun. It has to be something you truly enjoy reading. And I would even say for every great book that I find that just really gets me going, there's probably a couple books in between that I really didn't care for. So I think not giving up, and if you start a book and it's just not your thing, don't feel bad about putting it down. And sometimes that book may come back around years later and be your thing. But I think that we get books in the moment that they're meant for us, whether it's like it's really magical. I think whether a friend refers it or you just happen upon it at the library or a bookstore, I definitely feel like the right books come to us at the right moments in our lives.
I love that you said that because I know some people are like, I struggle my way through to finish it. I'm like, I honestly, one of my things is if I'm not into it, I don't force myself to finish because it's not for me right now. But a couple years down the road, it might be the book for me.
Yeah, I think that's really solid wisdom, reading wisdom.
Yes. On the opposite end, what would you tell someone who's just starting out to write their own book?
Oh, it also has to be fun. It also should be fun. I think writing a book is a tremendous project and it can easily turn into a tremendous amount of stress because there are so many moving parts with it, especially fiction. I have not written fiction yet, but there's like even more to that than there is nonfiction, in my opinion. So I would say really like giving yourself grace and wiggle room, right? Letting there be this loose but feels good structure, right? And then just taking it one bite at a time. You don't have to do, all 300 pages overnight, but just like, okay, for this month, I'm going to focus on chapter 1. And, maybe that's 2 days a week, just letting it be really doable and achievable. And also just giving yourself that grace. That's so important because if you give up or you get overwhelmed or burnt out, it'll never happen.
I love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That's a really good one. I would say the fact that I am a hippie born in the wrong generation. I am obsessed, for no apparent reason, with the 1960s and 70s hippie culture. All the music I listen to comes from that era. A lot of my inspiration starts from studying the bands from that era and the music and the sounds and the fashion. And yeah, I don't know, I can't get enough of it. I'm obsessed with it. And I connect really well with people who were alive then, which are 30, 40 years older than me. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't know that. And then they do, and they're like, interesting.
I love that. That's such a good one. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or share?
I would just like to tell your readers, whether you're picking up reading or you're thinking about writing your own book, let it be fun. Let it be fun and feel good to you. I feel like that's most important of all. And, these things can bring a ton of quality to our lives, but not when we force them. So let it be fun.
Love it. Love it. Where is the best place for readers to find your book? The best place to connect with you? I know some readers love to get signed copies. Is that something that you offer?
Oh, I haven't offered that, but I would definitely be willing to. A personal email would get you a signed copy. I have two businesses The publishing company, if they're interested in, I have tons of articles on writing and publishing, that is available at tshpublishing.com. And feel free to just hang out on the blog there. I think I'm around 50 articles now, so lots of fun stuff there. And then my books are housed under thesparklinghippie.com. Now you know where the name comes from. And you can definitely check out all my books there, and they're definitely on Amazon as well. So yeah, I would love to, if anyone does connect with me through this podcast, let me know that Courtney introduced us, and so I can give her a shout out. And yeah, I would love to chat more with any of the listeners that are interested.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And I know we hope to have you back to talk more about publishing in the future.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure. You have some great questions, and it's been really nice talking to you, Courtney.